Hey Ryan, I can't do those animal movements that you do. My whole body hurts. What should I do instead?
Now, this is something we hear all the time, and the cool thing is that you can do all the moves. And in today's vid, I'm going to show you how to scale animal movements and still make some great gains. Now, if you're stiff and find these sorts of movements challenging after watching this video, you'll want to go to the link in the description and get our free mobility boost video. All right, so first off, let's say that you're having trouble with your wrists, shoulders, heck, maybe even some hip and leg flexibility issues that are keeping you from doing things like even starting to practice animal moves. Well, this is where scaling the bear walk can be a huge benefit to you. Now, if you're having wrist issues, first of all, what you can do is take your fingers and bring them out to the sides just a little bit. You're opening your hands up, and what this is going to do is alleviate some of the pressure that's placed onto your wrist. It's gonna allow you to start working on the movement. But let's also say that you're having trouble with your hamstring flexibility. Doesn't mean that you can't do the bear, you can still do it. You're simply going to go at a level that's good for you. And all that means is that Alex is going to push his butt up into the air just a little bit, just as much as he can right there, good. And if this is as far as he can go, that's totally cool. Remember though, might have these wrist issues. So rather than placing the weight onto the wrist, what you want to do is focus on placing the load more onto your legs. And then from here, slowly taking one hand forward, opposite foot forward, then the other hand forward, and this is how you can actually scale the bear, doing it at a level that's good for you, taking a little bit of that pressure off of the hamstrings by not raising your butt so high in the air, but also using the legs to, once again, take the pressure off the wrist so that you can start performing this movement. Nicely done, brother. Now, this is exactly how I teach scaling movements in the 3 different tracks that we have set up in our Elements program. Now, we use variations of the bear, monkey, frogger, and crab, but with a different focus for each track. For example, in our gradual track, you'll focus on scaling the movements similar to what I'm covering in today's video. In the general track is where after learning the moves, you work to get in volume and smooth out the movements. In our accelerated track, you're learning the moves, of course, and working to smooth them out. But the main goal is making the easy hard. And the cool thing about Elements is that you choose which tracks suit you best and you start from there. Again, similar moves for each track, but a different focus in how you look at and practice the movements. Now let's get back to how to scale these animal movements. Now, if you can't get into a deep squat, it doesn't mean that you can't do the monkey. All you're going to do is scale it. And the way that we're going to do this is by placing your hands out in front. And if you can't actually get your hands flat to the floor, don't worry, you can tint your fingers. This is going to bring the load more towards the legs, but again, because you're having trouble getting in the squat, all you need to do is raise your butt up slightly into the air. This is great, totally works. What you're going to do first is bring your hands to the side, and you're going to walk your feet over into that squat position. With practice, what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself getting a little lower into the squat each and every time. It might take quite a bit of time, but the thing is the fact that you're just practicing this over time, it is going to happen. Starting to work to get your hands maybe flat on the floor. Great, moving the hands over, walking the feet over. Being aware of your body position. What we're doing is just scaling the movement to make sure that you can still perform it, but do it in a way that's going to be safe and productive for you. Now remember, if these kinds of moves are challenging for you, just go to the link under this video and get our free mobility boost video. All right, you might think that a move like the planche or the crane pose is super cool, and eventually you want to get it. The trouble is that you're having some wrist issues and you can't even work on the frogger movement itself. Don't worry. Here's what you're going to do. Okay, so typically with the frogger is the wrist and the shoulders, and maybe I can't get into my squat. Totally cool, I got you covered. Similar to the monkey, rather than thinking that we need to be in a deep squat, I just want you to get into a squat that's good for you. Heels are going to be off the floor, totally cool. With this, and looking at the wrists, we're going to tint the fingers. And rather than placing load onto the fingers, I want you to be thinking about sitting back. The reason for this is if he brings his shoulders directly over his hands, there's a considerable load here. And this is where people have trouble. So the angle that you want is to be closer towards the hips. In other words, you don't want your shoulders over your hands. If you can get your hands flat on the floor, Cool. Also remember, you can turn those fingers out if need be. Tenting the fingers is going to be good if you're having trouble with the wrists, and then keeping the shoulders back. From this position, you're going to start the movement, and Alex is simply going to slide his hands forward and walk his feet forward. And Alex actually has good shoulder strength, so he's able to bring his shoulders close to over his hands. But remember, you don't need to do that. Just because Alex is doing this doesn't mean that you need to, nor should you. Find a position that's going to be good for you. Doing it slow is what is going to allow you to know where you need to be. So once again, bringing the hands forward, walking the feet forward. Very nicely done. So this is how you can scale the Frogger to a level that's going to be good for you. All right, finally we have the crab. Now, some people actually have trouble bringing their butt up off of the ground. Maybe you can get the butt off there, but actually walking backwards is difficult for you. Rather than trying to walk with your butt up, Alex is going to bring his butt to the floor. He's going to take one hand back, the other hand back. He's going to push with his feet, bringing his butt closer to his hands. Then he can pull his feet closer to his butt and continue hand, hand, pushing, pulling the butt. This is how you can modify this, building up the strength to allow you to be able to coordinate everything together. Cool thing is you can go the opposite way. So this time, feet go forward. Now pushing and pulling the butt forward, then walking the hands forward one at a time, and then continuing to do that. Scaling the movement to an appropriate level for you. Gradually get into the point where you do feel comfortable keeping your butt off of the ground the entire time. But if you do have wrist issues, if you do have shoulder issues, this is a good way that you can scale this. Build up the necessary strength, that flexibility, mobility, as well as control, so that you can eventually start working on other variations of the crab. Remember that scaling a movement to your level is what is going to allow you to still get in practice with these animal movements. And by doing it this way, you'll be working at a pace and a level that is safe, allowing you to slowly ramp things up once you're comfortable with it. Something we show you exactly how to do in our Elements program. Now, thanks for watching, and don't forget to get our free Mobility Boost video that you can find in the description. Check it out.